Hello and welcome to the Business Advocate Podcast. I am your host, Russell Carriere. I'm the owner of First Choice Business Brokers of Easttn&Nashville. Welcome to the show. I have a very special guest today. I'm very excited for this show. It is going to be a little bit different because we actually stopped our first. We usually have a call with the guest before they come on, and I stopped it. I'm like, this is too good information. We just need to dive right in. So I'd like to welcome Matt Tate, who is the CEO of Decimal. Matt, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I'm looking forward to this. So initially, one of Matt's team reached out and said, can Matt be a guest on your podcast? And I have conditions about this. It's like, sure, you can't sell anything, you can't promote anything. And they're like, absolutely. Let's get a call together with you and Matt. And that's what I kind of already briefly stated. Matt and I started talking. I'm like, oh, yeah, this is what I want. This is perfect. And also Matt's like, yeah, I don't need to promote anything. I want to give information to business owners. So thank you for doing this.
I appreciate it. I mean, as you and I said, I'm an open book, probably, as my team would say, way too open at times. But I'll take that flaw over the opposite.
Yes, I agree. And that's why I'm excited here. So, Matt, this is going to be a little bit different. I'm not going to do a lot of talking. I'm going to let you do a lot of it.
No, boy.
So, I want to start with a little bit about your background.
Okay.
So, where'd you go to school?
So I'm from Indianapolis, live here now, but after high school, I swore I'd never come back. So I went to Duke for college. And then shortly after that, I somehow talked myself into going to law school and started out at Georgetown in D.C., spent some time there, even worked in Congress for a little bit. Decided all I wanted to do was come back to Indianapolis, so I finished up, went to law school. Even though I'm a recovering attorney today, my wife would tell you that the best decision I ever made was going to law school because that's where I met her. And she's a real attorney, much, much cooler than I am. But I did practice law for a few years. But I grew up in a family of entrepreneurs. So the desire to run my own business, I'm also a really terrible employee. All of that kind of came to a head pretty quickly. And my first business, I started my own law firm and realized that I liked the idea of running a business and hated being a lawyer, and I was not a very good one either. So from there, I transitioned into business. I swung the pendulum. I decided to get into kind of the startup tech space. Went in, met the CEO of one of the fastest growing tech companies in Indianapolis at the time, helping nonprofits. It's now called One Cause. It was called BidPal then. And he'd had this idea of starting what's called inside sales. So not boots on the ground, kind of what we all do more often today, but they'd never really done it. And he said, you know what, if you want to come in, I'm not going to pay you a big salary. We'll give you good commissions. If you want to try this out, we'll let you grow it. And within that first couple of months, it became one of the largest market segments that they had. And we grew it pretty well over a few years. And after that, I had the opportunity to help another entrepreneur run two of his businesses. And that was when I got into running companies, and I really enjoyed that, but really wanted to, we did some good things, wanted to start my own, started a restaurant marketing tech company of all things. It was a great idea, terrible business. It failed completely. One of our clients was a rather large accounting firm, and they actually called me and they said, hey, why don't you just come join us as an entrepreneur in residence, start new things, help us diversify. We did that, and that's ultimately where we started Decimal, which we do bookkeeping and tax for small businesses. And as a business owner who start multiple companies and run others, I've always struggled with the kind of bookkeeping, tax, accounting operations side of my business. I tried to hire people to do it. I tried to hire the best accounting firms to do it. Quite frankly, it all sucked. And we started Decimal to do it better. And 5 years in, 1,000 clients later, 100 employees, I think we've put together a really good team, and it's been a fun space so far.
Awesome. So let's go back in time. because you rattled off a bunch of stuff.
It's a very windy and not a straight and narrow path.
So why didn't you make for a good attorney?
I liked being the client more. I liked the business. I like running and solving problems and being able to run it all the way through. As a lawyer, you're a helicopter pilot. In a lot of ways, as a accountant, as a service provider, you're kind of a helicopter pilot. And I really wanted to get my teeth into a specific problem and run it all through. And I also like the idea of being on a team, having a team, running a team, building a team. And that's just a law firm is more of a confederation of states than it is necessarily a team. And even the best law firms, they're all running their own businesses. As long as their interests are aligned, they work together, but they're not always aligned. And I wanted more alignment.
Okay. So you move out of being an attorney and you get into business. And you said you came from a family of entrepreneurs.
I did.
Okay. So your first business, and you kind of talked about it briefly, and I like to focus on these because people learn from them.
Oh, yeah.
The restaurant. Tech failed miserably. Why is that?
It wasn't a good business model. It was solving a problem that exists but wasn't innately felt. And it was also in a business industry where there's not a lot of margin. Like running a restaurant is actually a really, really hard thing to do. The margins are tough. The employee base is pretty transitory. It's just a hard thing. And when you're selling marketing, and as we've all seen, big companies, small, for some reason, sales and marketing are kind of the first cuts when businesses struggle. It actually is counterintuitive to me because you need revenue, you need money to survive. The single biggest reason that businesses fail is money. They run out of money. And if you're making cuts in sales and marketing, then you're cutting off your lifeline to money. But in restaurants, that happens. And so in that kind of, it was what was it, like 15, 16, 17, I think, was when all this is happening. And so the economy was okay, but it wasn't fantastic. And it was just a tough space to be in. And I think a lot of times, too, we as entrepreneurs, and this is one of the struggles that we have when we're thinking about starting a business, just because we see a problem doesn't mean the market will validate that problem. And there were some things that happened in the previous company that I needed to leave. And I was willing to jump for anything that gave me the opportunity to run a company. And I found some good mentors and investors and was just able to jump. And so it gave me the opportunity to do what I wanted to, which was escape the previous place. And I did it without really thinking about it. And I wasn't nearly the kind of boss or team leader or leader that I am today. And that failure is one of the things that has made me much, much better. And I fail frequently.
So let's talk about it from the leadership side, because I know a lot of business owners struggle with this. Leadership is one of the most difficult things a person can do. And a lot of people think, I want to be in management, I want to be an owner, I want to be a CEO, and then they get there. And it's not what they thought it was going to be. So let's go back to your first leadership role. And you said, you've learned a lot, and now you get it in your new role with Decimal. But let's go back. Where were the problems then? What weren't you doing?
Oh, there was a lot of them. But when I look at the highlights, my wife would tell you that one of the best things that running the marketing tech company and failing that gave me was humility. And that ability to talk about my failures, to be okay with failing. And that's been really important because resilience, I think, is one of the most important characteristics of any entrepreneur, because it's not going to be perfect. No matter how great the idea is, how great the company is, how big of an opportunity the market has, you are going to fail more than you're going to succeed. And if you can fail forward and get back up, you have an opportunity to truly do what you want to do. And that can be build a saleable asset, build a lifestyle business, some combination of both. But you have to be willing to fail. And to do that, you have to be humble enough to recognize your flaws. Kind of combined with that too is I thought I had to do everything. I thought I had to be in control of everything. I thought that I needed to be the tip of every spear. And that was exhausting and it burned me out entirely. What I've learned in building Decimal, and Decimal is orders of magnitude bigger than that company ever was. And what I've learned is that I'm really bad at a lot of things. And what I've learned too is to find people that are really good at what I'm bad at. And one of the things that I've learned in scaling is I'm really good in startup phase. I'm really good at kind of hustle your way to your first million, maybe your second million. But when you come to building processes, I'm not good at it, and I hate processes. That's just the startup entrepreneur in me. But I now have an amazing COO, and Michael is really good at processes. He's really good at setting it up. He's really good at telling me to shut up and just do it. And he's been able to complement my flaws. And there are others. Nicole, our VP of Finance, Jacob, my co-founder, like they all cover my flaws. And as we grow and scale, what it's allowed me to do is not only see more and more of my flaws, but also their flaws and help them to hire downward to cover their own, and then to help people coach and grow to be better than them. And that I didn't really, I think I gave lip service to it, but I didn't really talk it through and really internalize and do it. And then the kind of final aspect of that is just actually being more balanced. I thought I had to work harder. I thought I had to do more. I burned myself out so entirely that after the company failed, I was exhausted. And I needed months to just recover. And I didn't think of, I want to be a great husband. I want to be a great dad. But I also want to be great at running this company. And how do I balance those? And what I tell entrepreneurs all the time now is I think you need 3 things to be successful in however you want to build your company. 1, you have to figure out what mental and physical health means to you. Doesn't matter. For me, I work out every day. I wake up early. I like to read. I meditate. Like I do the things that I need to physically and mentally to keep myself balanced. Number 2 is find a peer group, a group of people that are going through what you're going through so that you can talk about it, because our jobs are very, very isolating. Even with a co-founder, the bigger we grow, the more I'm naturally isolated from him and from my leadership team. And then number 3 is find a CEO coach, not a mentor, somebody that you pay to give you advice on how to run your company. I see a lot of smaller businesses do EOS. That can be a really good example of it. But those 3 things have helped me get better and to point out flaws that I don't see in myself and help me figure out how to do better and to grow.
Okay. Great 3 points. Very important. I'm going to jump back again to the leadership thing.
I'm so ADD, you are not going to throw me off.
So when you were being the tip of the spear,
yeah,
right, as the business owner and the leader, I find a lot of owners do this. It's not that they don't have confidence in their team, but they feel they can do it better. Was that your mentality?
Yeah, part of it. Yeah, that's definitely part of it. It's actually one of the big coaching points that I give Jacob, my co-founder. I'm well into my 40s. I'm old, and he's 27. And what I find is as I've gotten older, that not only am I not better, I'm willing to coach other people. Where we struggle sometimes is when we think that we're better at everything. Heck, we may be, but doing that thing is not a good idea. We need to give our team the opportunity to fail too. And so I much, much, much prefer setting my team up for failure. I kind of do it with my kids sometime. I've got 11-year-old twins, boy, girl, and a 8-year-old little girl. And my oldest twin, Madeline, very much has to win at everything. And she might sometimes sort of call the ball out that was in. So occasionally I will set her up to lose because I want her to learn how to lose better and how to fail. Because if you're always succeeding, you might end up like I did after my company and you're just done. Like I hit rock bottom. And so what I've learned with my team is when they're doing new things, I can coach them, but ultimately I'm going to let them do it their own way. And a lot of times that way is not how I would do it. Sometimes it's better, sometimes it's worse, but I'm going to coach them. And it's something that I have to, and Michael, our COO, has to work with new managers and leaders on, which is get out of your own way, let your team do it their own way. Judge outcomes, even when you're watching the train go off the tracks. Because now, there are also certain scenarios. I think Jeff Bezos had a pretty good analogy where he's like, there are some doors that open and close, and there are some that slam shut and can never be reopened. If it is a possibility of a never reopened door, then jump in, do it, whatever you think. Like that is a you moment. If it's the door that can be reopened and you can go back, let them fail.
Okay. And so, and this is the fear, right? Is as an owner, we have our employees, whatever task it may be, and we don't want them to fail because that affects business, right?
Right.
And we think of it, it affects our vision, our persona as the business itself. You can't have failure. And I think that's, again, I mean, you've said it several times, you fail forward. And
you do.
So this works for you. I don't want to make a general statement. In your situation, you found if you let an employee fail, do you let them fail twice at the same task?
No.
No. Okay, so they have to fail forward.
Yeah, but the other thing too is that first failure is on them. The second failure is on me. If I let them fail twice at the exact same thing, in the exact same way. So if they fail twice and it's totally different things that they tried and the second failure was better than the first and it's all learning, I'm okay with that a lot of times. But if it's failing the same way at the same thing twice, that second failure is on me. It also is you probably don't have the right person for the right job situation. And where I find a lot of business owners struggle is they understand the last part. Like, hey, that person they failed the same way twice. Like, it's time to let them go. Like, they're not a good fit. But the reality is that second failure is on you as a manager. You didn't teach them. You didn't mentor them. You didn't train them on how to learn from the first failure to improve upon it. And that's the other big thing that I've learned is really accepting all sides of that failure and understanding that I have to accept the blame for my part.
Okay. And this is going to lead me to another one because you kind of mentioned it. So they failed twice at the same task. He said, it's time to go. I find that, again, owners, leaders, and I mean, I've been through it. It's very difficult to let somebody go.
It can be, yeah.
Right? Because you feel for them emotionally, you feel for them financially. Typically, you know them pretty well. You know their families. And so some leaders have a hard time. They let them fail. They'll let them fail. They'll let them fail. They'll let them fail. Because they don't want to make that difficult decision. And I'm going to go on a split on this. You also mentioned that they might be in the wrong role. And that is tough for some leaders to recognize. How did you do it?
Not well every time. But a couple of things that I've learned. Number one, where some of the biggest struggles happen is when you have really good individual contributors that you then make a manager. And sales is kind of the easiest way to really recognize this, that a lot of times your best salespeople are not your best managers. They are two very, very different skill sets. I always joke, I'm this way. Like when I was an individual contributor salesperson, I was really, really, really good at it. And I think I do a pretty good job as a CEO. I'm a terrible manager. My joke is that I am really good at convincing people to jump off a bridge, but I cannot get them to line up to do it. I'm incapable of that management skill. I need Michael or somebody like that to help get them lined up. And so that's one thing, is just understanding the skill sets. And the other thing is, I have yet in my career, and unfortunately, I've hired and I've terminated lots of people over my career. My first job as a lawyer was as an employment attorney, and my boss, literally within the first week, made me go into one of his clients and help fire people. So that was fun. Also, really quickly showed me how much I hated being that lawyer. What I have learned every time, and I don't like to use always and never because, as I tell my kids, they're never correct. But I've yet to run into a time where when I let somebody go, I wish that I had not let them go. Usually by the time I got there, I was like, man, I probably should have done this sooner. Like, this was a really good thing. And even if they're mad at me, and even if our relationship is different or changed or sometimes irreparable after that, I find that they end up happier and in a better place. Like, usually you're not the only one that sees their failure. They do. And nobody likes being that failure. Nobody likes constantly banging their head against a wall. It gives them a headache. So understanding that your empathy is actually misplaced is really, really important. I think where people more often, I think people talk a lot about, oh, I felt for him and I really didn't want to let him go. What I actually think more often than not, when you truly get to the heart of it, it's as bad as they were doing something. And I wasn't sure who would do the work when they left, or I wasn't sure if I could hire somebody, or I wasn't sure. Like, I actually think that people, when they're honest with themselves, it's more about filling the gap of work. The other thing that I find, and I'm dealing with this a little bit now in my business, is when you have employees that struggle, you keep them, you end up building up organizational scar tissue to cover their flaws. Other people have to do the work around them. Other people have to cover for what they're bad at. Other people have to work harder because of that person. And that makes it hard on the rest of the organization. And so if you're being nice to one person, and this is what I think when I really realized this, it was the light switch moment for me. Being nice to one person in a way that's mean to a multitude of others is a bad balance on the scale.
Couldn't agree more. When I was looking to buy a business, I was interviewing an owner of the existing business, the seller. And they owned this particular business for 20 years.
A lot of scar tissue there, I bet.
Well, and a lot of knowledge, quite honestly.
Oh, yeah.
I love talking to business owners, especially ones that are very seasoned, because they've been through it.
Oh, yeah. Everything.
And so I asked him, I said, what do you contribute to the success of your business? He said, the first 10 years of my business, he goes, I became friends with everybody. He goes, and I got ran over.
Clients,
I couldn't
employees.
cut anybody. And this is employees. These are clients. These are, vendors. He was friends with everybody. And he said, I got manipulated. He goes, yep. I couldn't say no. I didn't want to hurt their feelings because we were friends. He goes, the second 10 years, he goes, I became friendly, but not friends. And my business completely transformed. He goes, I put a line in the sand. Yes, I'm going to be friendly, and we're going to have a relationship based on business, but not a friendship.
100%. I think it's a good way to put it. It's a tough thing to do, though. I found that you don't have to be all or nothing in that spectrum either. You can still make some friends and some vendors. And the key is to do it in a way that you church and state your life. There's work and there's friendship. If you're too close, like number one, I don't think you can really do it with employees, particularly in a growing company. At some point that breaks. And it's unfortunate, but I've yet to see it happen. I always joke that, like, I've got two brothers. I love them to death, but I hope to God we never work together. I'm never going to say never because it bites me in the ass every time, but I hope to God we never work together. I don't think we'd be very good working together. And so I think on the employee side, that can be one thing. On the client side, I have made a few friends. And guess what? I've fired a few friends as clients, and I have a few friends that have fired me as clients. We just kind of looked at it as, oh, well, totally cool. I have a few vendors that are longtime vendors that are friends, and they know and we know, like, hey, guess what? Your company's big enough. My company's big enough. If I lose you or you lose me, like, it's a rounding error. And that, I think, is the big thing. If you become friends with vendors that, and even with clients, and losing them becomes a significant loss for your business, like catastrophic, that is a big problem. If you enter the rounding error territory, I think you can be okay.
Okay. So, I mean, we covered just a small portion, but we've said a lot. One thing, and I wanted to go through your resume a little bit more, but we try to keep these short.
Yeah.
For our listeners. I do want to talk about one thing, and just because I know you're doing it now, and that's franchising. I get calls a lot about franchising and people wanting to franchise their business. I want just a 10,000-foot view. How difficult was it?
So it's still hard. And it's
I'm saying getting your business set up as a franchise.
So we will launch franchising later this year. So we are not officially franchising yet. I want to make sure that when my lawyer accidentally listens to this, he knows that I put the disclaimer in there that we are not franchising yet. We have a group that we expect will start later this year. And I think it's going to be a really cool thing, and it's not something that's being done in the accounting industry in the way that we're going to do it. And the interest level so far has been unbelievable. It's been really, I think, really cool. Setting it up is painful and very hard. We have paid lawyers and consultants hundreds of thousands of dollars to set this up. You can do it much cheaper than that. The problem is, franchising is an extremely litigious group of people. We were talking to a friend of ours that about franchising, and he runs a couple of franchises in Kansas City. And he was talking about how angry they were with the franchisor because the franchisor called a client right after they signed the client, tried to create a national account off the client, and they're just pissed. Understandably. It's a dumb, mean thing that franchisor did to them. But it just highlights that when you're in that type of a relationship, people are going to sue you a lot. And going cheap on legal documents can be really, really painful. I've heard about it ruining families, business relationships, a lot of other things because everybody sues for everything in this space. And every state is different. You have to file in some states. You don't have to file in other states. Like, it gets really, really complicated. There are other less cumbersome legal routes that you can go. You can just license if you've got a playbook. I went to lunch with somebody the other day. He's going to do some licensing. It's a kind of low lift way to do it. I think for the right type of business, it's perfect. For his, it's great. For something like ours, I think it mitigates the potential and the upside in pretty significant ways. So I think the cost is worth the benefit in my case, but I wouldn't say it's that way for everybody. And I think, too, you really have to look and say, like, do I have the type of business that is a model that is transferable? Also, do I have the type of business where I can continue to be relevant to that franchisee on a daily basis? Because that's where a lot of franchises fail, is people are so excited when they start, but you're signing like 8-10 year contracts. How do you make sure they're still happy 8 years in when they're still paying you a 10% royalty? Like, that's a big significant chunk of their top line revenue. How are you earning that? How are you doing things that make that continually worth it? And I think that's where a lot of the fail points come from, is not really thinking that through. And but like I said, I think it can be a great opportunity, but I would definitely do it the expensive way, and I would not cheap out on it.
I'm very happy to hear you say that. I get approached all the time. And,
I bet.
And these owners are like, yeah, I'm doing the 50 grand in a box franchise. Yeah, I'm throwing my business out there, and I'm going to,
right.
They're telling me I'm going to have 300 franchisees in 2 years for 50 grand. And
if it sounds too good to be true,
yeah,
probably is.
Unfortunately, in this world right now, there are a lot of people that provide a service that is a partial service, and they charge less, right?
Yeah.
And I've run into this again quite a bit. I hate when I see it. I hate it. So I'm very happy to hear.
It's funny because these consultants are the same thing as I did a LinkedIn post the other day where I said, the worst clients are the ones that pay for an 88 Honda and expect a Lamborghini.
Right.
Business owners that pay for an 88 Honda and expect to get a Lamborghini are a problem. And so really think through if the upside feels like it's going to be astronomical and you're paying for that 88 Honda, there's probably a gap and a problem.
Yeah. All right. We're 32 minutes into this, and I hate to do it, but I'm going to call this a close at this point. I could talk to Matt for hours. Hopefully the listeners could listen to him for hours. Obviously very knowledgeable. Matt, thank you so much for being on the show.
Well, I really appreciate you having me. I enjoy these conversations too. And as you and I have talked before, I love talking to entrepreneurs. I love being honest and open about my story. And hopefully somebody can pull something out that helps make life easier.
Awesome. So if anybody has any questions for you, if they want to get in touch with you, what's the best means for them to do that?
Easiest way to do it is just to connect on LinkedIn. Matt Tate, CEO of Decimal. You can find me there. If you want to listen to more conversations, a little more depth like this, After the First Million is a podcast that we run where we talk to business owners about their experience doing a lot of what you and I are talking about. And I think those are probably two of the best ways.
Awesome. Thank you again, Matt. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you.
So, everybody listening, if you want to see who you're listening to, you can go to YouTube. You'll find us on there. It's the Business Advocate Podcast. You can see what we look like. I invite you to put comments. This show is for business owners or potential business owners. These episodes are for you. I want to hear what you want to learn about. Please let me know. That's the reason we do it. So my name is Russell Carriere. I'm the owner of First Choice Business Brokers, East Tennessee and Nashville. You've been listening to the Business Advocate Podcast. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.